Hey everyone, welcome to episode number 9 from season 2, by the way, from the World of Presentations podcast brought to you by us at 356 Labs. This podcast helps you write, design, and deliver what we call truly effective presentations, and it's all based on our own experience working with some of the top brands in the world. My name is Boris, and I'm joined again by...
It's by Iva.
Yet again. And today we want to continue with this episode. We want to continue the topic of rehearsals that we started in the previous episode. We thought that we are going to be able to cover everything that we wanted, meaning why are rehearsals important? And then, okay, if they are important, then how do I do them? Right? But, well, turns out that we found a lot of reasons why they're important. So then that's why we decided to split the episode. So today's episode is all about, okay, you now know that rehearsals are important. You don't have the time to do them, but you know you need to. And now the question is, how do you extract as much as possible out of every single rehearsal? And that's the topic for today. So where should we start? Eva, what's your opinion?
I would say something that I already said in the previous episode, but for me, the fundamental part of rehearsals is to rehearse the presentation in the same way that you're planning to deliver it. Not
Absolutely.
Just saying in your head, okay, so I plan to say this and that, and then never speaking about those points and just mumbling while you're sitting on your desk. Make sure that you rehearse it in the same way that you're going to deliver it.
Yeah, absolutely agree. I have seen so many people do the opposite, meaning what Eva just said. They only go through their slides saying to themselves, oh, on this slide I'll say this, that's clear. This one I know. That is so dangerous. Like, that is not a rehearsal. Don't do that. Anyhow, we're in the world, it's 2020. And we're in the world of mobile technologies, COVID-19, all of that stuff. And that being said, not only we want you to rehearse in the same way that you're going to be delivering your presentation, but you now are able to be supported and have a lot of tools to help you out.
Which is pretty cool.
Yeah, by the way, I would agree that is pretty cool. Anyway, so what are the tools that you may want to utilize? What do you think?
I will start with the one that is an absolute favorite of mine. It's called Ori. So
okay.
Ori is an AI powered app which gives you a lot of insights. I think it has a free and also a paid version. So it gives you a lot of insights on how you are doing with your presentation. What I love about it is that actually, when you open it, if you download it on your iPhone or Android, what happens is that when you open it, it asks you to determine the level that you are presenting currently, meaning what are the things that you don't like at all that you want to improve, how do you feel when you are presenting, whether, for example, you are confident or you are neutral, how do you feel when you have not rehearsed and you are asked to present all of these things. And then there is a challenge, which is around, okay, so if you have to change 3 things in the world, what would you do? And you are asked to record yourself presenting those 3 ideas. And then you are given very profound feedback on your pace, whether you're using the so-called filler words like what is your right? Yeah, all of these words that people are using because they are not fully aware on what they need to say, and they are not super confident when saying those particular points that they have just said. And it gives you, for example, an insight around your energy, like how big is the energy that you're talking with. That one maybe you want to consider based on the topic. I mean, if you're presenting something that is specifically sad, or it aims to create a little bit of a
hype.
Yep.
Maybe.
The energy would be different. But what I find really cool is that the moment you stop, the moment you press the stop button, it gives you automatically an insights about the way you present it. So it's really, really useful. You can use it on your phone, which makes it possible to bring to anywhere, basically, even in the bathroom. So if you don't have a place to rehearse, the bathroom is also a nice place that you want to use, maybe.
Yeah, so that I didn't know, by the way, that they're doing this.
The challenge, you mean?
No, the challenges I know, but I didn't know that they're asking you questions. Hey, what do you think
Yes.
about yourself? Like all of those things.
They're
That's
asking,
interesting.
yeah, it's kind of of course, it's self-assessment,
Yeah, okay.
which can always be tricky, I would say. But still, if you
Interesting.
want to be honest and if you want to get further in the
Yeah.
in the way you present,
Yeah.
that it's better
It's
to
a good
give
idea.
honest answers. Here, I don't think that people they have kind of the interest not to give honest answers, even though it's a
Yeah.
self-assessment.
Yeah, that is cool. Absolutely cool. So Ori is a very cool app. Take a look at it. Definitely recommending it. One other thing that I would add is that there is, for example, something that's called UMO, UMMO, that can help you count the ums and the ums. However, that is something that you may want to check out, of course. Obviously, Ori will also do that, but I would say that there is something very interesting nowadays that's coming out of Microsoft, which is, at least for me, it was surprising and it was a pleasant surprise, which is called Rehearse with Coach. And Rehearse with Coach is an Office 365 feature, currently only available in PowerPoint Online when we are recording this. However, if you go to the slideshow tab and enable Rehearse with Coach and you present in English, because that is, I believe, also for Ori, you should be speaking
it should
English.
be English. Yes.
Yeah, Bulgarians, the people in our community in Bulgaria, I'm sorry guys, Bulgarian is still not considered a very important language, obviously, in the world. So Microsoft have done this Rehearse with Coach thing that's, again, an AI-based software and coach that listens to you and kind of gives you feedback on many things, including diversity and inclusion.
That's my favorite part.
This is super interesting, which says more or less that if you say, hey guys.
Yeah, by the way, these are the so-called gender-specific expressions and words. So if you, for example, say, hey guys, to a group of people, what it will tell you is the following. So guys is a word that is specific to men, and if you are presenting in front of a group of people where there are women, that might not be the best word to use in your speech. Try to think of something else, and it gives you suggestions. For example, say, hey everyone, hey all, or something like that, which is
super cool.
Really cool, because if you think about it, these are things that we never think about when we are rehearsing. Even when you are rehearsing, even if you consciously think about it, that might be something that will come up during the rehearsals, and you will say to yourself, okay, so I won't be using that word. But I would say that the majority of people are still not thinking about the inclusivity of the language that we are using. So that's a very, very important for me, and I think it's a very cool functionality.
Yeah, it's a very cool feature, and two that Microsoft included. Also, they have something that they categorize it as originality, meaning that if you're presenting with slides and there is some text on your slides and it captures you, meaning that the audio is scanned after you speak, they scan the audio file and they kind of correlate the audio file with what's written on your slides. And if they see one-to-one match, this means that you're reading from your slides, and Microsoft will immediately point this out, saying to you something like, hey, try to be a bit more original. It seems like you're reading from your slides, which is so cool. I mean, that is something that is so cool to have in a tool, especially for people who are just starting in the world of presentations. This is super useful to have and to be helping you for no cost, additional cost. Like this is just in there for you. And there are some other things that Microsoft will also give you: the pace, of course, the ums, all of those things. There are also new features coming up, which I'm not allowed to talk about, but trust me, there are a lot of interesting features that are coming up in the Rehearse with Coach feature in PowerPoint Online. So check it out. Take a look at it 1 month after you hear that podcast, then 1 month afterwards, and look for the new features that were added to Rehearse with Coach, because Microsoft are committed to add a lot of new features. I know most of them, I think, and all of them look absolutely great. What else?
I would say another very cool tool is called Speech in Minutes, because if you think about it, sometimes people, they have their outline of their talk. Even I have seen cases where they have like the full speech written in a Word document. What this website gives you is to basically just copy paste the speech that you have, and it will tell you based on the amount of words that you have.
You have to paste the number of words you have.
Yes.
You can capture that from any
document. Exactly. It will tell you actually how much time it's going to take you to deliver that talk.
Yeah, that is
I find it really useful for very short pitches. For example, the ones that are 3 to 5 minutes. When we work with startups, it's always tricky to make sure that you fit in that amount of time.
Yeah.
So that might be a cool tool to also check.
Yeah, I remember the last time when we were asked to cut a 10-minute presentation to 5 minutes. It was painful to kind of do that, and then 2 or 3 days before the event was about to happen, somebody from the organizers said to our customer, to our clients, that they need to cut the presentation to 3 minutes, which was, I mean, brutal. Like, it is so hard to simplify to that level, but it's still possible. Anyhow, these are great tools. So Ori, the PowerPoint online code, the PowerPoint Rehearse with Coach online feature, the speech minutes, the site is called speechminutes.com. We are also going to link all of those tools out in the show notes, so you will see them. However, Eva mentioned something that is really interesting, that many people, okay, not many, but quite a lot of people, especially who have a very important presentation coming up, they write the whole script in Word or Google Doc or something like this. And that is very interesting. However, I would add that one of the other things that you can do is that you can shoot us a message somewhere, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, email, whatever, and we can send you something even better. What we have done recently, which is part of our storytelling online course, if you don't know about it, check it out. There is a downloadable thing in there, which is a cheat sheet, meaning that what you end up receiving is a PowerPoint file where you can put the time, meaning from this minute to that minute. Then on that same line, you have placeholder where you can put the topic that you need to cover in that time slot. You have the slide preview, meaning that you can copy paste a small version of your slide. And also there is one last column where it says transition phrase, so that you know how you go from this slide to the next one. This thing you can print out, right? You can print it out. You can print out even multiple copies of it. And then you can spread those copies around the room where you are going to be presenting, considering that you are presenting in person, right? If you're presenting online, well, just put a copy next to you. This is a really cool small piece of document, a PowerPoint presentation actually, that will help you stay, and you can use it also during your rehearsals so that you get a sense of, hey, here is what I need to cover in what time, here is what's next, etc., etc. So if you need that file, let us know.
Yeah, that's a very, very cool thing that you can use. What we also encourage you to do when you're using the file is not to. So something I think very important that we first said is the fact that you need to deliver, when you're rehearsing, you need to deliver the presentation in the same way that you're expecting to deliver it in front of the audience. What we also need to make sure that we've said is the fact that you should not memorize by heart your speech.
Yep.
So by using, for example, what the document that Boris just mentioned, what you can do is not put the whole text that you're planning to say under that particular slide.
Plus, you don't have the space.
Yeah, just you don't have the space, and that's on purpose because we want you to put the key message that you want to share on that slide. The way that you develop the idea, that comes through rehearsals, and it comes then on the stage, but you don't need to memorize your talk. That's actually, it's going to make it worse. Yeah. What can happen then is if you forget one word, you won't be able to know where to start from.
Yeah, you can black out, as people say.
Yes.
So, and we have seen this multiple times already. So don't do that. I mean, especially for a presentation that's important, what you may want to do is try to rehearse as many times as possible, because what you may hear, at least what we are hearing while working with and during our trainings, is that people say that if they are going to rehearse their presentation, they sound inauthentic, which is a very interesting point if you think about it. And I would argue that that is let's just put it this way, it's interesting the way it sounds, like I sound inauthentic, but I would argue that they sound inauthentic because they haven't rehearsed enough. Because when you are not rehearsed, when you don't spend the needed time, you're still considering like what's next, what should I say, how should I say it, okay, what is the slide, how does it, all of those things. You have to rehearse so many times that the presentation itself just becomes part of you, right? And you don't even think about it. That is the level that you want to get. In that moment, you can be yourself very easily because you don't think about anything else in first place. So when you hear, or if you have this opinion that, well, I'm getting inauthentic, it's not me anymore, right? All of those things, that is something for you to rethink again and honestly ask yourself, did I spend the needed time that I have to, so that I make this presentation and that I know this presentation so well, it just becomes who I am, becomes part of me, right? So that is something that I would add here.
Yeah.
Okay, what else? Anything else that we can add here to how people should rehearse?
Another way, apart from the tools, how you can rehearse well is to, attention, a little bit of a weird one, to record yourself. That's something that we do during practice sessions when we do trainings with our clients. Every time. So it's a great way to actually see how you're delivering the presentation. And it's great because of a couple of things. First, of course, you hear the audio. So what you are saying, you can stop it and say, okay, so why did I say that? I need to fix that for my presentation. That's one. But then you can also watch the video, which gives you very interesting insights on the gestures you're making, on the way you look, the way you talk, the way you walk. So if, for example, you're moving too fast, you can see that on the video and you can say, okay, so wait a minute, I'm walking across the space that I am currently presenting in, and it's distracting me, even as the person who just delivered that talk and is watching the video. So the recording is, I said, strange, because for a lot of people it's really weird when they look at it and when they hear their voice on camera. But the thing is that it's very, very helpful. What you can do is every time when you're rehearsing, you can record yourself, and then you can compare the recordings and analyze your behavior, analyze what you're saying, analyze all the ums and all of those feeling words, and make sure that you correct that one for the next time that you deliver that presentation.
Yeah, recordings are very honest feedback, right? And I haven't heard anybody up until now, after they have seen a recording of themselves, saying, well, I did well. I did very well. I really like it. There is no such moment that I can recall where I heard something like this. You will always find something, even by yourself, that you want to improve, right? So that is why you want to do that. And what's more, this recording, like, you can send it to a friend of yours or to someone who is an expert in the field, meaning the presentation field, so that they can give you feedback, right? So it can serve multiple purposes. So I cannot recommend it more. Like, it is mandatory. You are not looking, by the way, maybe it's very important to mention that you are not looking for creating a recording that's top notch, that will win an award, Grammy, whatever, it may Oscar or whatever.
For a well-produced movie.
Yes, you are not looking for that. You are looking for plain and simple recording somehow of how it looks and how you sound. That's it. Nothing else.
Yeah, it's perfectly well if you just do it through your phone. It doesn't need to be professional. You don't need to set up mics, lighting, etc., etc. It just needs to be visible.
Yeah,
let's say.
Yeah, absolutely. I would add here something else. I mentioned that you can send the recording to somebody else, to a friend, to a colleague, to a presentation person, presentation expert, presentation coach, whatever. However, I would also argue that, and we have done this, by the way, with our clients, especially for some of the critical presentations that we worked on, meaning IPOs, etc., to rehearse in front of just group of people, right? Maybe that group of people is your family, maybe that is your friends, or maybe that's your colleagues. And if possible, maybe that's even closer to the target audience that you are going to get during your real live presentation. So if it's possible, please do so. And what you want from this presentation, I will share with you something else that we didn't include in our notes that we are looking at behind the scenes. So what you want to do in that setup is you want them to be completely and very open and very brutal with you, right? Because you really want to take their honest opinion. So what I would be curious to ask them is, hey, when you were listening to me, did you have any questions when I presented this topic? Is there a question that pops up in your head that you may want to ask? Was there a place, let's say, where you lost interest in listening? That is something that you may also want to know. Do you have any doubts, or are you kind of questioning anything that I shared? Right? Because not everything may sound logical to your audience, and you really want to know that. All of those things can be extremely, extremely helpful. And for you, that is just super, super important, because if you can get that feedback early on and adapt based on it, that is, especially for an important talk, that is a must, absolute must.
You would actually be surprised how many of the what if scenarios that maybe you have thought about, like questions, what kind of the information that I'm sharing is logical to the audience that I'm sharing it with. The amount of advice that you might receive from a very small group of people that you want to rehearse in front of is just tremendous.
Yeah,
you might get questions that you've never thought of.
Yeah, I would agree. By the way, talking about questions, this is this is recommendation and an advice to everybody who is about to be delivering a very important presentation. What I would ask you to do is go and do rehearsals by yourself. Go and do rehearsals with a group of people, with colleagues, friends, or very similar to your target audience. However, what we did when we were preparing our presenters for an IPO presentation that became the second biggest, by the way, in our country, what we ended up doing is we did a rehearsal where the only goal of the rehearsal was for the audience to ask questions that are tough questions, right? That are brutal questions where you can potentially kind of ruin the whole thing, right? That was the only intent. Just one dry run of the whole presentation, but you are getting interrupted constantly with questions that may arise during the presentation, so that you can find and you can see how are you going to respond to those if they happen at all. By the way, in the same way as we mentioned this in the previous episode, that will give you huge confidence in your overall delivery, because if you know that you already have prepared an answer to almost every question that may arise during your otherwise very important talk, you feel so prepared, so confident in your abilities that you are going to definitely deliver a presentation on a completely different level.
Yep, and also it's the fact that this immediately projects to the audience. So people see how confident you look, and they know that you are capable of handling everything that might happen on that stage.
Yeah, that being
said... Or
in
front of that computer.
Yeah, absolutely. And that being said, maybe one last advice so that we kind of wrap this up. When you thought you rehearsed enough,
do it again.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Do it again. There is no enough in rehearsing, the best TED presentations, the top 10 in the list of TED. You can go in the book of Chris Anderson and you'll see that those top 10 presentations were rehearsed hundreds of times. And have this in mind, hundreds of times is something that is also being delivered by a professional speaker. Those people that deliver those top presentations are also very, very experienced speakers, and they have spent hours and hours and hours and hours rehearsing their presentations. That should tell you a lot, right? That is, by the way, the same as someone did this association in comparison with the music bands. Like when you go in a concert, you don't expect those guys to not be rehearsed, right? Same thing with presentations. The audience expects you to deliver on a very high level, so that's why you do that. Okay, anything else?
I think that's it for now.
I think that's more than enough also.
It's more than enough, and more than enough ideas on how to rehearse properly.
Yeah, and how to extract as much as possible from any rehearsal.
Yep.
Okay, that's it then. Hopefully you now know our opinion about why rehearsals are important and how you can do and how you can make every rehearsal count. So if you have any comments, any feedback, shoot us an email, shoot us a Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, or whatever message you want. Visit our website 356lab.com to see more about what we do and how we do it. And in case you found this episode interesting, subscribe to the podcast if you haven't already, or even share it with a friend. We would appreciate it. Okay, that's it for today. See you in the next one. Bye.